everybody, and welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. Before I speak to this week's guest, I have a shout out to Online Laser in East Bendigo who helped me out recently with some components they made for my exhaust. Their awesome laser cutter that they have in there managed to print me a template for my exhaust, and now we can get the exhaust done for our Formula V, so it's back on track. Check them out on their website and go see them for a quote if you need any laser cutting done. Now, just quickly as well, we're thinking about dropping some merch, so leave a comment if you would like to see some Grassroots Racer merch. I'm really looking forward to speaking with this week's guest. He has made his way all the way up from karts to cars, driving XLs, Toyota 86s, and he's currently in the Dunlop Super 3 category, part of the Anderson Motorsport team. So, welcome, Bradley Vaughan, and how are you tonight?
Thank you. I'm going well. It's thank you for having me, and yeah, it's been a pretty big journey. I love racing, and yeah, we'll have a good chat.
Thanks, Bradley. Racing something that your family has always been into, or are you the first generation racer?
No, I was certainly born into it, to say the least. My dad raced speedway for 30 years or so, so I was pretty much born into it. At the moment, um, I was a couple months old, so uh, I was around the racetracks my whole life, and got involved in go karting when I was about 9, and yeah, it's really just gone from there.
So you started out in dirt karting. What was it really hard to get a grasp of learning how to drive on an oval circuit? Because some people think it's just turning left, but could you just quickly explain how difficult it is to actually drift the karts and whatnot?
Yeah, so I started racing in dirt go karts. Over in South Australia, we don't just run in circles; we also run circuit tracks. So we do turn left and right, just on dirt. So there's a lot of skill to driving a cart, with a bit of sideways, and it's heaps of fun. And it certainly helps in the rain when it rains on a bitumen. I certainly shine. So yeah.
Yeah, I can relate my in a little bit of a way, but except on the circuit carts, whenever it used to rain, that's when my dad would take me out to practice and he'd throw me on slicks so I'd learn how to race in the wet conditions. So then when we chucked the wet tires on, it felt like I had a whole lot of grip and I could just send it.
Yeah, most certainly. And I think I certainly appreciate it now when I've gotten further up the ranks and driving cars which don't have a lot of grip. Those fundamentals you learn in go karting, whether it be in the rain or on the dirt, it comes in handy later in life. So
So we've been talking about, your dirt karting career. When you were younger, did you have to travel around a lot and to the different tracks? And was it really competitive?
certainly competitive. Go karting's very competitive. In South Australia, we've got 11 dirt tracks, and we'll regularly get 20, 30 or so more go karts in your class. And we spent all year round, every weekend for the year, traveling to different tracks around the states. Sometimes interstate. We went to Alice Springs one year and raced up there. But you're regularly in the go kart every weekend, practicing, racing, getting better, and it's heaps of fun. It's no different to bitumen go karting, really, but on dirt. Um, and it really builds the base skill set, I guess, of going racing, that mindset. And I'll be forever thankful that I started so early, really.
Yeah, it's very true. And it's so awesome how you've been given the opportunity to travel around Australia to race karts. Do you remember winning anything major in your younger years of racing?
Yeah, certainly. I was the Riverland champion in dirt go karting, the Junior Jam. There's a lot of big events that dirt karts in South Australia hold that I won. I never ticked off the state championship or the Australian championship, but it's something that I'd still love to go back and do eventually. But before you knew it, I was on to bitumen go karts, and then yeah, it really went from there. And I haven't really looked back at dirt.
It's awesome how you've been able to win some titles in dirt karting. Then you moved to asphalt karting. So did you think driving on dirt first helped you a lot? Like we were talking about the control, but do you think it just helped even with the racecraft?
Most certainly. Yeah, definitely. I think I got up to speed pretty quickly with the bitumen go kart. Within my third race meeting, I'd already won my first show, and I did it for about 6 months, and we were already on to national championships and traveling to the Victorian Country Series and doing what we possibly could. So um, still the same skills was still exactly the same. You just had to learn how to drive a slick tire, how the grip will alter during the race. The cart will grip up. Then on dirt, we're used to it being dusty or muddy, or the water truck goes out and your setup's out the window. So it's all the same. It's just adapting to it, but I did adapt to it pretty quickly.
So do you think your most recent karting title win was the City of Adelaide titles? Do you think that would have to be your best bitumen karting win?
In bitumen karting, yeah, the City of Adelaide. Done that a few times now in KA3 Senior Light and 125 Restricted Light. Between those two engines and two classes, I enjoy doing it. And yeah, I currently race in KA3 Senior Light as a bit of a fill-in between the V8.
So how did you progress into cars, and what car was the first category you drove in?
Funnily enough, we were planning to do the full Australian Kart Championship during 2020. And then unfortunately COVID happened and we couldn't travel around anymore. And we were sort of looking at it and going, well, we've got to race something. We didn't want to sit around and not race anything. So we looked at getting involved in state level racing. In car racing, we looked at the Hyundai XL series. There was 40 or 50 or so cars in the state regularly rocking up. And we thought this would be a great idea just to try it out and see what it's like. And we got involved and it was extremely competitive. I learned that very quickly. And in my first race meeting, I qualified 5th on the grid for the final. So that turned a few people's heads, I think.
That's incredible. P5 in your first weekend of XLs. Did you build the car yourself or did you buy it from a previous racer?
We bought it from a previous racer. We bought it about 7 days out. It was exactly 8 days out from the first race meeting that we did. So we bought the car, had it on the trailer, went over it, went to the track the next day, got my license, entered, and we're on the track the weekend after for my first meeting. So it all happened really quickly, and I had no idea what to expect. But it was great fun, and that's really what got me hooked. Certainly in car racing.
I can imagine it would have been a really busy week because you would have had to go buy your stuff from, example, Revolution Race Gear down here in Melbourne. That's where I had to get my stuff from. And you would have just had to get all this stuff prepared with the car, the logbook, your license, and then go out there in the weekend and just have a go. So it was definitely a busy week, wasn't it?
It was a very busy week. Yeah, organizing everything. We had no idea how to set up a car, how to really do anything, to be honest. We just had the car and we wanted to go racing. So we did it. We got through the weekend with some help from some other competitors, which is one thing I love about state level racing is everybody's willing to help everybody. Everybody's friends. No one's hiding secrets or too much, or everyone's willing to help. Then I guess when you get further up in the ranks, people get a bit more serious.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I really enjoy racing in the state series, in the Formula V's. It's good because there's lots of people there who are willing to help, and it's still very competitive at the same time. What did you enjoy most about driving in the XL class?
I would say it'd be the competitiveness. We've got some very, very fast drivers down here. We've got Asher Johnston, who's the national champion,
Yeah.
Jaden Wanzak, Brad Gartner. There's a lot of guys who race at the moment who are all around my age, 17, 18, 19, that give it a red hot crack. And that's what makes it competitive when you know that we can have a train of 10 cars for the lead and you've got to be looking in your mirrors and still trying to drive as fast as you can. It's those skills you won't learn really anywhere else. Like in go-karting, you don't have a rear view mirror. So those are the things I learned straight away.
Yeah, it's true. Like having the mirrors was a hard thing to adjust to for me, like because you can't just turn your head and the cars there. You have to really use your eyes, that 180 vision. And then your mirror's obviously there, but in the V's, we can only really see over our back wheels. So if someone's sitting next to your wheel, it's really hard to determine where they are.
Yeah, it's that sort of racecraft and knowing where your car's positioned on the track is important. And you learn that from when you start. But particularly when you get into a V8 supercar where you're strapped in tight, you can't move your head very far. You
Mm.
really rely on your mirrors, and the mirrors aren't really that good in the V8 supercar. You can't really see too much, so you've just got to be aware of where the cars are, particularly on a first lap. So you learn that from state level racing, whether it's XLs or V8 supercars.
Yeah, it's incredible to see the difference between racing a kart and a car. But when did you decide to transition from the XLs into the Toyota D6s?
It was funny enough in that same year, about 2 months after I did my very first race in the XL, we knew a person around down in Mount Barker who had a car for sale, and we looked at buying that because we knew that was where we wanted to go. The XL was sort of a side thing that we did really quickly to get me on the track. And then when we got into the 86, straight away, my first race meeting was at Bathurst. And that was an eye opener to say the least. I was pretty nervous, and it's a big step up to a national category with all the TV cameras and everything that goes on about a supercars race meeting.
Mm.
So once again, it happened really, really quickly within the space of a couple months and thrown straight in the deep end. But I wouldn't change it at all.
I was just about to ask that we'll mention that you got the drive at Bathurst. Is it a track that you've always wanted to race at?
Bathurst is the holy grail of motorsport in Australia, right? It's
Mm.
something you grow up watching supercars on TV, and you look at that. One day you want to do that, but I don't think I ever sort of sat there knowing that I could do it one day, but I always hoped that maybe I could. And then before you know it, I was on the track in the 86 at Bathurst. That was a pinch myself moment that weekend. The first lap across the top of the mountain, your stomachs. Oh, I got quite sick, to be honest. The first time I drove around there, with the roller coaster effect, your stomach sort of rises up, and it's just it's something you'll never experience at any other racetrack. It's really crazy.
Mm. I was a bit like that. Like I really wanted to go to. I really do want to go to Bathurst, but the first time I went to Phillip Island was also pretty insane for me. The butterflies I got on my stomach knowing that I was about to race on a GP circuit where MotoGP comes and endurance classes come. So I was really stoked for that. And then obviously when you went to Bathurst, it was the same effect. You obviously had butterflies, I'm guessing, and you did feel a bit sick because of the undulation change. What was it like coming down Conrod at? I reckon you'd get maybe 220 in the 86s, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's just over 200 kilometers now down Conrod. I remember going back to the XL when I first looked into that, and I found out they raced at Tailem Bend and Sandown. I went, wow, I can be on the track, the same track that V8 supercar drivers have been on. And
Mm.
that was cool for me, let alone to be on the track on the same weekend. Was even cooler again. Going down, it's not just Conrod Straight, but the whole track
Yeah.
is unreal. You don't really get a break too much because you're always preparing for that next corner. So it's a cool track. It seriously is.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be. Is it true that you got to do some driver training with Luke King from TCR?
Yeah. So pretty much we probably didn't know too much what we're doing in those early race meetings there. So funnily enough, I rang up Luke King, got his phone number, and he was willing to help, and it really went from there. He helped me out a lot. He taught me probably more off track than he did on track. But yeah, I'm thankful for those lessons he taught me, and it kickstarted. It got us going. Really, is what was most important.
Yeah, I spoke to Luke last year on the pod, and he was a really great chat. He was a great guy as well. It's unfortunate he probably would have bet Mostert to the title last year if he was able to make all the rounds. He was very competitive last year in the TCR, and Bathurst was not his weekend. He had everything thrown at him, and unfortunately, it's a bit hard to tackle on the mountain. But obviously, this year he's tried to make all the rounds again, and I wish him the best of luck. But back to you. You've now stepped up to the Dunlop series, aka the Super 2, Super 3 series with Anderson Motorsport. And, the team you and the team have had a very successful year so far. What have been the main highlights of racing in Super 3?
The main highlight would be just being involved in a team environment. Everything we've done so far had just been mum, dad, me, and some mates. That's sort of the extent of it. And now being in a professional team where all I do is catch the plane, rock up with my race suit and helmet, and I got a whole pit crew, an engineer, the whole lot, the posters, the race suit, everything. I was pretty blown away at Sydney, just how professional everything's run and how everything's got its procedure. It's That's what's probably most exciting, is to see the whole team working together, and they're a good bunch of lads. I really do enjoy driving with them, and it makes it more enjoyable when everyone on the team is your mate effectively.
Hmm. And that's how you gotta be. You gotta be nice to your mechanics and your whole team so they can get along. And if you work really great as a team, you'll win the championship, the team's championship. And then, you can focus on the next year and you can all have smiles. Do you plan on going to Super 2 next year?
That would be awesome. I can't really say too much at this
Yeah.
point in time, but that's the plan. Most people who jump into Super Two, the progression is into Super Two the next year after Super Three. So that'd be the plan. But yeah, we'll have those discussions towards the end of the year.
Yeah, not to throw you into the spotlight, but it was just a question. Because I know a big part of racing is keeping it confidential, but hopefully we see you in Super 2 next year. Is supercars the ultimate goal, or is there any other categories like TCR, Trans Am that you'd like to compete in?
Supercars is the main goal, and probably always has been since I was a little kid. Um, I I I never really thought or expected that I would get there. I've always looked at other categories. I love Trans Am, S5000. I love dirt racing. Obviously, from a dirt racing background, sprint cars and stuff is so exciting to watch. But supercars has always been the goal. And now that I'm in that pathway as such in the Dunlop series, it's clear, the Super Two wild cards, supercars. That's the pathway now. So yeah, we'll work on that.
100%. It's a great goal to have. And I hope to see you in supercars within, say you win the Super 2 championship next year and there's a spot open, hopefully by 2024 at least. But you do have Townsville coming up next in July. What are you looking forward to, and have you raced there before?
I'm very much looking forward to Townsville, probably more for the warmth. It's quite humid and 25-degree days up there. I had a mate call me the other day from up in Townsville, and he was about to jump in the swimming pool with a singlet on while I was down here with a jacket on, freezing. So I'm looking forward to that. I did drive there last year in the Toyota 86 series and picked up my first podium, and that's funny enough how I got the drive this year. Michael Anderson, the car owner, sat on the fence and watched the 86 series and, saw my name and kept an eye on me. And I got a podium up there, and that's really what got my name out there, I guess.
That's really incredible. Townsville is a tricky track because the walls are right there and you have to really keep your focus the whole time. And you've done really well so far. But what do you think? Well, what's the best thing that you've learnt along the way and you can share with other young, inspiring drivers?
Um, that's a good question. I think just keeping your options open and really working towards it. I think the most important thing for me to do is put my best foot forward in how I drive the car, not make silly mistakes and present myself as a good attitude towards just generally towards anyone, if it's fans, sponsors, whoever it may be. Um, that'll get you a long way. An attitude that's in the right place, and if you got the right attitude off the track, then when you're on the track, it'll come to you. So yeah, that's probably the best advice.
Yeah, I agree with that advice. And do you have any sponsors or any people that you'd like to thank that have helped you get to this point?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Angus Motors, VRT Farm and Auto, James Rosenberg Racing. He's been a massive help. Fuchs Lubricants. I could go on with the amount of people that helped me there. They're sort of
Mm.
the main ones you see on the car, but it's people behind the scenes, like thanking Michael for letting me drive the car, and yeah, the list goes on really of the people who've helped me to get to this place. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, and do you have any social media platforms that people can follow your progress?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram, Bradley Vaughan 16, Facebook at Vaughan Racing Team. They're probably the two main ones, and I try and keep as much posting as I can. It's quite busy on a race weekend, as you know.
Mm.
There's so much going on that sometimes you can forget about putting up that Facebook post or something. So I try and put as much as I can up.
Yeah, I agree. Luckily my parents are, they're always on social media, like posting about me and trying to build up my following and trying to trying to get people to notice me. So hopefully I get noticed and can be given an opportunity to move up in my racing career. I really appreciate talking to you tonight, and you spending time talking to me out of your schedule, because who knows, next week you could be called up to race something, and it happens so quickly, like Toyota 86 and XL. I'll be watching your progress with interest, and I can't wait to see you at Townsville. Keep up the good work, and I wish you all the best. Unfortunately for me, I have to wait a little bit longer to get back on track, and I won't be racing until August. But to everyone out there racing this weekend, remember to drive fast and take chances on the track and safely, of course. Thanks, Bradley.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.